problem with Gavin Newsom being president, with respect to China, which is obviously the focus of our discussion, is that he does not understand the Communist Party.
He's very much engagement. California in general has been very much engagement with China.
Like Biden, Biden at least gets that Xi Jinping's a dictator, right? He gets that it's a communist country.
Yeah, he specifically said a communist.
He's like,
dictator.
Said many times that U.S. will defend Taiwan. Mm-hmm. But Gavin Newsom, he went to China recently on his own to solve climate change.
And he met with Xi Jinping, which at the time Biden couldn't.
Yeah, that's insane to me, right? So obviously, he would be the candidate that the Chinese Communist Party would prefer over Biden and certainly over almost any Republican candidate. Mm-hmm. And so think about the level of support that a pro-China candidate can get, right? You get financial support from totally independent Chinese-American businesses.
Mm-hmm. United Front.
You get, right? I mean, there's a whole Clinton scandal in the 90s or that kind of thing. And then there's also the social media bots, that kind of thing where there's so many influence campaigns where China and Russia does this too, right? Try to influence elections. The Chinese Communist Party's interest is elevating candidates that are CCP friendly. So they're going to, pull no punches in terms of full on social media campaigns to promote a candidate that they like, which is why, again, I don't think Gavin Newsom's career is necessarily over. I do think there's a chance he could fail up.
I never said his career was over. I said I think it killed his chances of being president.
Okay, well, I disagree, but you know what, Chris? One of us is going to be wrong and the other's going to be right, and we'll see.
I also remember when you were adamant that Trump would not be the candidate in 2024.
Yeah.
Yes.
I probably was adamant about that. I don't remember being that adamant, but
I do.
But we'll just
I should have recorded it at the time.
Oh, this wasn't on the podcast. This was just a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is, you make a good point about why China's ability to influence elections. We need to look at Taiwan because Taiwan has an election very soon. And we have been seeing a lot of Chinese influence in these elections, including Terry Go, the Foxconn guy. He was running as an independent. And essentially, the concern was that he would split the pro-China vote in Taiwan. So China did a bunch of crackdowns on Foxconn, and then suddenly he decided to drop out of the race. Oof. But not before he had the brilliant idea of getting the pro-China candidates all together and doing this thing where they were okay, we'll all unite. So, none of us are splitting the pro-China vote. They didn't call it the pro-China vote, but the people who are more willing to engage with China. And so they did this thing where it's we'll decide who the leading candidate is based on these polls, but they couldn't agree to what the margin of error was. And so they invited all of the media to come see this event. And instead of being this great unifying thing, it completely broke down as they all started fighting with each other and arguing with each other. And yeah, it was broadcast to 23 million Taiwanese people.
Yeah. So for our viewers, there's more than two parties in Taiwan, but the current ruling party is the DPP, the Democratic Progressive Party, and they're a progressive party on issues that certain social issues and LGBT, but they're also very anti-Chinese Communist Party influence. So it doesn't align left-right like it does in the United States.
Yeah.
But this, and they're running William Lai, who is the current vice president. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's he's a very, very, very solid candidate for that party. People respect him. He's super honest, very, very smart.
And his running mate now is Xiaobi Kim, which has really good connections to the U.S.
She's the U.S. essentially head diplomat, right?
Yeah, essentially if we recognize Taiwan as a country, she would be the ambassador. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that party doesn't seem so fractured. So they have a better chance just from that perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to predict the outcome of an election.
No.
based on my track record, apparently.
But yeah, hopefully it will go DPP, like the other major party, the KMT, the Kuomintang. It's so sad. I bet Chiang Kai-shek is rolling over in his grave. That his party that he wanted to take back China is now the
pro-engagement one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear for our viewers, it's not that we're taking sides in Taiwan's internal politics, but more that with respect to dealing with the Chinese Communist Party, Taiwan has I think in both of our views, a much better chance of survival with the DPP as it currently stands on China.
Yeah, so like I'm blanking on his name right now, but like one of the leading Kuomintang candidates is like he says he would agree to like the 1992 consensus, basically proposed a one country, two systems model for Taiwan.
Right.
Which is insane to even like consider.
Did they not see what just happened in Hong Kong? Like
Yeah.
it just happened.
Well, I guess it was like 3-4 years ago
Like
now.
half the people that we interviewed in Hong Kong are now in jail.
Or in exile.
Or in exile for political crimes, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's why? Why would you think this is a good idea?
So Taiwan is really important. It's important that people like look at what the CCP is doing in there.
And I hope that we are entering a new era of U.S.-China relations, and I think inevitably we are somewhat, because it started sort of midway through Trump's term. This shift from right. Even when Trump in the beginning was like, oh, let's do a trade deal, right? But like by the end of his term, it was like very clear. He's like, we signed a deal, and before the ink was even dry, they sent this virus to us. And I'm not clear. I agree that they sent it to us, but like nonetheless, his whole China policy shifted, and it affected the Biden administration, and Congress has changed, and we're not going back exactly, but there are still so many interest in people from the Kissinger era who are in the U.S. government in various capacities. They're cabinet members, they're Congress members, they're working in the State Department in various capacities that are still in this Henry Kissinger school, and they either haven't woken up, or they have, but they are kind of like lying to themselves because they don't want to admit just how horribly wrong they were. And like, that's something I can understand, because I lie to myself all the time because I don't want to admit my past mistakes. So it's very understandable. It's just a tragedy for, everyone else.
That's beautifully said, Matt. Beautifully said. Thank you for watching this episode of the China Unscripted Sportscast. I'm Chris Chappell.
And I'm Matt Gnesta.
And we'll play ball next time. They do balls in sports, right?
Yes.
Yes.